Hello, everyone. Welcome to Special English Corner, the podcast that helps you learn English one story at a time. I'm Mark.
And I'm Sharon. We are so happy you are here with us today.
That's right. Whether you are on the bus, in the gym, or sitting at your desk with a cup of tea, we are glad you joined us.
Today's episode is a very special one. We are going to talk about something that has inspired millions of students and engineers for more than half a century.
We're talking about a famous Chinese motto from one of the best universities in the world, Harbin Institute of Technology, or HIT for short. In Chinese, people call it Ha Gong Da.
The motto is 规格严格,功夫到家. In English, we can say high standards, strict requirements, mastery must be achieved.
It's a short sentence, but it carries a very big meaning. And today, we are going to explore where it came from, who created it, and why it still matters today.
So get comfortable, open your ears, and let's get started.
Music fades out. Before we begin our 4 parts today, let me give a quick introduction for listeners who may not know much about HIT.
Good idea. So, Harbin Institute of Technology, HIT, is located in Harbin, the capital city of Heilongjiang Province in northeast China.
It was founded in 1920. That means it is over 100 years old. It started as a small school, but today it is known as one of China's top universities, especially for science and engineering.
HIT has helped build China's space program, its satellite technology, and many other important projects. Many of China's most famous scientists and engineers graduated from there.
And the school has a motto, a short sentence that tells you what the school believes in. The motto is 规格严格,功夫到家.
Let's break that down in simple English. 规格严格 means standards must be strict, or you must do things with high standards, and 功夫到家 means your skill must reach the level of mastery, like you don't just learn something, you master it completely.
You know, Sharon, I think that is actually a great philosophy for life, not just for university.
I totally agree. Okay, now let's move into our main content. We have 4 parts today.
In part 1, we'll talk about what the motto really means in everyday language.
In part 2, we'll look at how and when the motto was created, its history.
In part 3, we'll share some real stories about teachers and students who lived by this motto.
And in part 4, we'll talk about what this motto means for us today, what lessons we can all take from it.
Sounds great. Let's go.
Okay, part 1. Mark, let's start with a simple question. When you first heard this motto, high standards, strict requirements, mastery must be achieved, what did you think?
Honestly, my first thought was, wow, that sounds really tough. Like strict requirements? That doesn't sound like fun.
I think a lot of people feel that way at first, but let's look more carefully at what these words really mean.
Sure. Let's take the first part, 规格严格, high standards and strict requirements. In simple English, this means whatever you do, you must do it the right way. You cannot be lazy. You cannot cut corners.
Cut corners. That's a great expression for our listeners. To cut corners means to do something in a quick or careless way, just to save time or energy. And this motto is saying, no cutting corners.
Exactly. Think about it this way. Imagine you are building a bridge. If you use bad materials because they are cheaper, the bridge might fall down. So you need high standards. You need to use the best materials and follow every rule carefully.
That's a great example, Mark. And it's especially important for engineers, right? Because engineers build things that people use every day. Buildings, cars, trains, planes. If an engineer makes a mistake because they were careless, the result could be very dangerous.
So that's why HIT, as an engineering university, puts high standards and strict requirements at the heart of everything.
Now let's talk about the second part. 功夫到家. Mastery must be achieved. What does that mean to you, Mark?
Okay, so the word Kung Fu is interesting. In the West, many people know this word because of Kung Fu, the Chinese martial art. And in martial arts, you have to practice and practice and practice until your skills are perfect. You can't just watch a few YouTube videos and call yourself a Kung Fu master.
That's so true. So when we say 功夫到家, we mean your skill must be so good, so deep, so complete that you truly have mastered the subject.
It's not enough to kind of know something, you must really know it. You must be able to use your knowledge in any situation, even when things are difficult or unexpected.
I like to think of it as the difference between knowing the recipe for a dish and actually being a great cook. You might read a recipe and understand all the steps, but a great cook can make the dish perfectly, even when some ingredients are missing, even when the kitchen is busy, even under pressure.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy. And I think that's what HIT wanted from its students. Not just students who could pass exams, but students who could really do the work in real life, under real conditions.
Right. So together, the two parts of the motto give us a complete picture. Work with the highest standards and keep working until you truly mastered your skill.
You know what? Now that I understand it better, I actually think it's quite inspiring. It's not just tough, it's meaningful.
I agree. And when you learn the history behind this motto, it becomes even more meaningful. So let's go to part 2.
Part 2, the history of the motto. Sharon, where does this motto come from? Who created it?
Great question. And to answer it, we need to go back in time, all the way to the 1950s.
After the founding of the People's Republic of China in 1949, the new country needed to build itself very quickly. China needed engineers, scientists, and technical workers, and universities like HIT were at the center of that effort.
So there was a lot of pressure on the school and on the students.
Exactly. HIT was given a very important role by the government. It was asked to train world-class engineers who could help build the new China. And at that time, HIT received strong support from the Soviet Union. Soviet teachers came to teach, and Chinese students also went to study in the Soviet Union.
So there was a lot of international exchange happening.
Yes, and during this period, HIT's leaders and teachers started thinking very seriously about what kind of school they wanted to be. What kind of students did they want to produce? What values should guide everyone, teachers and students alike?
And that's where the motto came from.
Right, the motto 规格严格,功夫到家 is closely connected to a group of remarkable people at HIT, its early leaders, teachers, and educational administrators. The philosophy was shaped over time through real teaching practice and honest reflection on what it takes to train truly excellent engineers.
So the motto wasn't just invented one day, it grew out of real experience.
That's a great way to put it. And one of the most important ideas behind the motto came from the observation that many students could recite knowledge. They could repeat what they read in a textbook, but when they faced a real problem, they didn't know what to do.
I think we all know that feeling. You study hard for an exam, you remember everything during the test, and then a month later, it's all gone.
Exactly. Or worse, you remember the theory, but you can't apply it. And for an engineer, that is a serious problem. An engineer must be able to think and solve problems in the real world, not just in the classroom.
So that's why the motto was also a response to this problem.
Yes, HIT's educators wanted to create a standard, a clear, simple standard that everyone could understand and follow. The message was don't just study until you pass, study until you truly master the material, study until it becomes part of you.
功夫到家, until your skill is truly at home. That's a lovely way to think about it. At home meaning it's natural, it's comfortable, it's part of who you are.
Oh, I love that interpretation, Sharon. The word 到家 in Chinese literally means reached home. So your skills have come home. They are completely yours. You don't have to think hard to use them. You just know.
Like how a good driver doesn't have to think about every little movement. They just drive.
Perfect example. And once this motto became official at HIT, it was everywhere. It was taught to every new student. It was discussed in classrooms. It was put on walls. It became part of the culture of the school.
And it wasn't just a slogan, right? It had real effects on how the school operated.
Absolutely. HIT became known for its very high standards in teaching and learning. Professors were expected to prepare their lessons very carefully. Students were expected to work very hard. Exams were serious. Lab work was thorough. Nothing was done carelessly.
And that culture, that way of doing things, helped HIT produce some amazing graduates over the decades.
It really did, and that brings us perfectly to part 3, where we are going to talk about some of those amazing people and their stories. Part 3, the stories. This is my favorite part, Sharon. I love a good story.
Me too. And there are so many wonderful stories connected to HIT and this motto. Let's start with the teachers, because at HIT, the teachers were truly exceptional people.
Tell us about them.
One of the most celebrated groups of teachers at HIT is known as the Eight Masters, in Chinese, 800壮士. This name refers to a generation of young, highly talented teachers who dedicated their lives to education at HIT, mostly from the 1950s to the 1970s.
800 warriors. That sounds quite heroic.
It is heroic. Many of these teachers were very young when they started. Some were in their 20s. Some had studied abroad, in the Soviet Union or other countries. They had real talent and could have chosen easier, more comfortable lives, but they chose to stay at HIT and teach.
Because they believed in the mission.
Exactly. And these teachers were famous for their incredibly high standards in the classroom. Let me share one kind of story that was common at HIT during this time.
Please.
Imagine a mathematics class. The professor writes a problem on the blackboard. A student goes up and solves it. The answer is correct, but the professor says, your answer is right, but your method has too many steps. Go home and find a shorter, more elegant way to solve it.
Wow, so even when you get the right answer, it's not enough?
That's the point. Getting the right answer is just the beginning. A true master doesn't just find an answer, they find the best answer. They understand the problem so deeply that they can solve it in the most clear and efficient way.
That really brings the motto to life. 功夫打架, mastery, not just correctness.
And here's another type of story. In engineering and laboratory classes, students were expected to follow procedures with absolute precision. Every measurement had to be exact. Every step had to be followed in the correct order. If a student was careless, even a little, they had to start over.
That must have been frustrating sometimes.
I'm sure it was, but the teachers always explained why. In the real world, one small mistake can cause a big failure. We are teaching you good habits now so that when you are building real things, real machines, real structures, you will do it right.
That's such a responsible attitude. They weren't being mean, they were preparing the students for reality.
Exactly right. And the students understood that, even if it was hard. Many HIT graduates have said in interviews that the strict training they received at school made them much better engineers later in life.
So the strictness was actually a gift.
A very valuable gift. Now let me share another kind of story about students this time.
Great, let's hear it.
There's a famous saying that went around among HIT students, 学在哈空大. If you want to truly learn, go to HIT. It means that among Chinese universities, HIT was known as one of the most academically rigorous. Students there studied harder than almost anywhere else.
So students actually chose HIT because of its difficulty?
Many did. There was a kind of pride in that. If you got into HIT and you survived, if you graduated, it meant something. It meant you had passed a real test. Not just an exam, but a test of your character, your patience, your dedication.
That reminds me of the saying, easy times make weak people, hard times make strong people.
Yes, and this connects to another aspect of the motto. 规规严格, strict standards, doesn't only mean that teachers are strict with students. It also means that students must be strict with themselves.
Self-discipline. That's the deeper meaning.
Beautifully said. The best students at HIT were not just students who followed the rules because they had to. They were students who internalized the motto, who made it their own. They asked themselves, is this work good enough? Can I do better? Have I truly mastered this, or do I just think I have?
That kind of honest self-reflection is so powerful and so rare.
It really is. And there's one more story type I want to share before we move on. It's about HIT graduates and their work in China's space and technology programs.
Oh yes, please.
HIT is very well known for its contributions to China's space program. Many of the engineers and scientists behind China's satellites, space stations, and rockets studied at HIT. And when people ask these engineers about their success, many of them come back to the same idea, the foundation they built at HIT.
The high standards and the mastery.
Yes, one engineer once described it this way, and I'm paraphrasing here. When I was at HIT, I sometimes felt the requirements were too strict, but when I was working on a satellite project years later, I suddenly understood. In space, there is no room for mistakes. Every component must be perfect. Every calculation must be correct. The training at HIT prepared me for that.
That's incredibly powerful. The difficulty of the education matched the difficulty of the real work.
Exactly. And that, I think, is the true genius of the motto. It didn't just sound good on a wall. It shaped real people to do real important work.
I'm genuinely moved by these stories. Okay, let's move on to our final section, part 4.
Part 4. What can we learn from this motto today? Mark, we've been talking a lot about engineers and universities, but this motto isn't only for engineers, is it?
Absolutely not. I think the ideas behind this motto are universal. They can apply to anyone in any job, any field, any part of life.
Let's break it down for our listeners. What does high standards and strict requirements mean in everyday life?
Well, I think it means caring about the quality of what you do. Whether you are cooking dinner, writing a report, teaching your child, or learning English, you can choose to do it carefully and well, or you can do it quickly and carelessly.
And the motto is saying, choose carefully, choose well.
Yes, and I know that sounds simple, but it's actually quite challenging because we live in a very fast world today. Everything is quick. Fast food, fast news, short videos, everything is designed to be consumed in seconds.
And in that kind of world, it can feel strange or even wasteful to slow down and do something with great care.
But I think there's a growing movement of people who are pushing back against that. People who want to do fewer things but do them better. People who care about craft, about doing their work with skill and attention.
And that connects perfectly to the second part of the motto, 功夫道家, mastery. True mastery takes time. You cannot rush it.
There's a popular idea in the West. Some people say it takes 10,000 hours of practice to become truly excellent at something. 10,000 hours. That's years of dedicated work.
HIT's motto is saying the same thing in a different way. You must practice until the skill is truly yours, until it feels like home. There are no shortcuts.
And that's a message that is just as relevant today as it was in the 1950s. Maybe more relevant because today there are so many shortcuts available. You can find answers online in seconds, you can use tools and technology to skip steps, but none of that gives you real mastery.
Right. You can use a calculator, but if you don't understand mathematics, the calculator won't save you when the problem is new and unexpected.
Exactly. Now, Sharon, I want to talk about one more dimension of this motto. It's not just about individual achievement, right?
That's a great point. No, it's also about responsibility. When you work with high standards and you truly master your skills, you are not just doing it for yourself. You are doing it for the people who will use your work.
The engineers who built the satellites, they weren't doing it just to show off their skills. They were doing it because millions of people would depend on those satellites. Their work had consequences.
And even in everyday life, our work has consequences. The teacher who prepares carefully affects hundreds of students. The doctor who masters their knowledge saves lives. The programmer who writes clean, correct code makes software that works reliably for thousands of users.
Everything is connected.
And I think that's ultimately what the motto is about. It's about taking responsibility for your work. It's about saying, I will not do this carelessly because other people are counting on me to do it well.
That's a beautiful way to put it. The motto is not just a school rule, it's a philosophy of life.
Let's also say a quick word to our listeners who are learning English, because I think this motto has something very specific to say to you too.
Oh, that's a great connection.
Learning a language is a long journey. There are no shortcuts. Your listening skills, your speaking skills, your vocabulary, they all take time. They need practice, they need care.
You can't rush language learning. If you try to skip steps, you will find yourself with gaps in your knowledge, things you half know, things you're not really sure about.
But if you work carefully, if you practice honestly, if you listen to podcasts like this one regularly and really pay attention,
if you look up words you don't know, if you try to use new vocabulary in sentences, if you don't give up when it's hard,
then one day you will find that English feels familiar. It feels natural. It feels
like home.
Exactly. 功夫道家. Your English has come home to you.
I love that, and I truly believe every listener here has the ability to get there. It takes time, it takes effort, but it is absolutely possible.
So keep going. Work with high standards. Be careful, be attentive, and never stop working toward mastery.
Those are words to live by from the great Harbin Institute of Technology.
Okay, let's wrap up today's episode. We covered a lot of ground.
We did. In part 1, we explored what the motto 规规严格功夫道家 really means, high standards and true mastery.
In part 2, we looked at the historical background, how HIT became a top university in the 1950s, and how the motto grew out of real educational practice.
In Part 3, we heard stories of the dedicated teachers and hardworking students who brought the motto to life, and the engineers whose excellent work carried that spirit all the way to outer space.
And in Part 4, we talked about how the model's wisdom applies to all of us today, in our work, our learning, and our daily lives.
Thank you so much for listening to Special English Corner. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend who is learning English.
And if you have a story about your own experience at HIT, or a story about a teacher or mentor who held you to high standards, we would love to hear from you.
Until next time, keep learning, keep practicing, and remember,
High standards, master your skills. See you next time.